Ready to time travel through taste buds? Well, today we're going to look at 20 New Year's party foods that once rang in midnight with a bang, but have mostly vanished from modern celebrations. It's your backstage pass to a nostalgic realm of forgotten culinary trends that shaped American festivities in the 1900s. Now let's dive into these memorable delights and explore what made them so spectacular, and why they faded into history. Number 20. Aspic and gelatin molds. Aspic and gelatin mold dishes dominated banquet tables from the 1920s onward, showcasing everything from savory meats to bright vegetables suspended in translucent jelly. Essentially, aspic is a savory gelatin that's often derived from boiling down animal stock containing collagen, the protein responsible for its thickening power. The hallmark of these molds was their curious texture, which can be off-putting to some but totally fascinating to others. In many recipes, you'd see cubed hams, olives, hard-boiled eggs, or diced celery entrapped in a matrix that jiggled with every move of the plate. This visual spectacle was something of a culinary science project for hosts aiming to impress. Because gelatin sets at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, these creations needed precise refrigeration and timing. Jokes aside, seeing colorful vegetables floating in a savory jelly dome felt futuristic for folks back then. Now, the novelty eventually wore off, and with changing tastes, especially people's growing preference for simpler, fresher party foods, aspic and gelatin molds slowly vanished from the mainstream. Today, they're more of a retro curiosity than a party staple. Number 19. Ambrosia Salad. Ambrosia Salad was a sweet concoction that hit its stride in the early to mid-20th century. The name alone, Ambrosia, referencing the food of the Greek gods, set lofty expectations. Traditional ingredients included coconut flakes, canned mandarin oranges, miniature marshmallows, maraschino cherries, and sometimes crushed pineapple. More adventurous versions even added whipped topping or sour cream for extra richness. The salad's texture was distinctly fluffy, often layered with a tangy sweetness that reminded guests of a tropical paradise. This dish appeared religiously at end-of-year parties and, of course, New Year's Eve gatherings, symbolizing the sweetness that people hope to carry into the following year. In a heyday of fruit salads, Ambrosia reigned supreme because of their unusual flavor mashup. Technically, it combined sugary components with subtle hits of citrus, creating a mouthfeel that was both creamy and bright. Nostalgia aside, modern health consciousness and shifting preferences pushed Ambrosia Salad off the menu. Fewer folks are eager to load up on whipped toppings and canned fruits these days, though you still might find it in certain southern holiday spreads. Number 18. 7-layered salad. Now, if you ever partied in the 70s or early 80s, you might recall the 7-layer salad phenomenon, typically presented in a large trifle bowl for maximum visual impact. The layers often included lettuce, tomatoes, peas, onions, cheddar cheese, hard-boiled eggs, and a generous dollop of mayonnaise-based dressing on the top. The big draw was its eye-catching, striated appearance, like a rainbow of savory treats. Each layer served a different flavor profile, with peas adding a subtle sweetness and cheddar providing a salty bite. Now, the genius behind this build was the interplay of textures: crisp lettuce, tender peas, and a creamy dressing that seeped through as the salad sat. Now, on a technical note, the mayonnaise layer acted as a seal, helping preserve freshness by limiting oxygen exposure. However, this salad began to wane in popularity when lighter, vinegary dresses became fashionable, and an uptick in health consciousness made mayo-laden dishes less appealing. Though it survives in some Midwestern potlucks, it rarely makes star appearances at modern New Year's celebrations. Number 17. Cheese balls. The cheese ball is a relic of New Year's parties from decades ago, especially during the post-World War II era. Now, typically shaped into a sphere and rolled in nuts or herbs, it delivered a punch of flavor with minimal fuss. The basic recipe might involve cream cheese blended with a sharper cheese like cheddar, plus a bit of Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, or even diced pimentos. A thick coating of crushed pecans or chopped parsley gave it a more sophisticated look and that satisfying crunch. Cheese balls served a practical function at large gatherings. Because of their density and shape, they could be set out with crackers, veggie sticks, or maybe bread cubes without losing form too quickly. Technically, cheese balls rely on the stabilizing properties of cream cheese, which helps maintain a certain firmness. Back then, hosts could whip one up and keep it chilled until the midnight toast was near. Over time, more elaborate cheese and charcuterie boards nudged these spherical wonders out of favor. Nostalgia might lead some to still feature them, but they rarely attract the spotlight they once held in the 50s or 60s. Number 16. Classic cheese fondue. Now, cheese fondue soared in popularity in America during the 1960s, heavily inspired by Swiss culinary traditions. Essentially, you'd warm a blend of Emmental and Gruyere cheeses with a bit of white wine or Kirsch, which is a cherry brandy. to keep the mixture from separating. A fondue pot equipped with a small burner allowed this gooey goodness to remain molten all night. It was the height of interactive dining. You'd spear cubes of bread, apples, or even vegetables, swirling them in melted cheese. From a technical standpoint, the cornstarch or flour in fondue recipes emulsifies the cheese and liquid, preventing a clumpy meltdown. At many swinging New Year's bashes, folks would gather around the pot, turning the meal into a social event that ran on conversation and camaraderie. Though a handful of specialized restaurants still offer fondue, the gadgetry and the specific ingredients eventually kind of felt outdated to modern hosts, who favor the quick, minimal prep finger foods. Fondue sets, well, unfortunately they collected dust, and slowly the craze lost steam, making cheese fondue a charming memory rather than a frequent party highlight. Number 15, canopies with deviled ham. Before the era of charcuterie boards and artisanal meats, deviled ham canopies reigned supreme at New Year's buffets. Deviled ham, spiced, minced ham, often sold in little tins, boasted convenience for the home cook. Hosts would whip up canopies by slathering the deviled ham onto small squares of toast or water crackers. Garnishes range from pimento strips to pickle relish or mustard-based sauces, adding visual flair and an extra layer of flavor. In culinary terms, deviled ham's consistency and tang set it apart. It was typically made by grinding ham with seasonings like paprika, cayenne, or mustard powder. The result was a nice spread, easily stored and quick to serve. All jokes aside, it was the 20th century version of a store-bought hack that saved time without sacrificing flavor. Over the years, as people gravitated toward fresh deli cuts and more elevated sandwich spreads, deviled ham began to feel somewhat archaic. While canopies in general remain popular, deviled ham seldom appears at modern gatherings, overshadowed by gourmet pâtés and imaginative spreads. Number 14, fruitcake. Now, fruitcake might be the most polarizing holiday food in modern memory, but a century ago, it was a prized treat that was often served at major celebrations, including New Year's parties. Typically dense and moist, fruitcake packs dried or candied fruits like raisins, cherries, and pineapple, plus nuts and sometimes a dash of rum or brandy. Now, the heavy texture comes from the high ratio of fruit and nuts to flour, while the alcohol or sugar syrup help preserve it for extended periods. From a technical standpoint, fruitcake's longevity stemmed from its lower water activity, meaning microbes couldn't easily grow in the sweet, dense environment. Families often made them weeks or even months ahead, letting the fruitcake mature to develop deeper flavors. This extended shelf life made fruitcakes an especially popular gift. People could ship them across the country without worrying about spoilage. However, changing tastes and comedic portrayals relegated fruitcake to the butt of holiday jokes. It survives as a culinary relic, though seldom welcomed with the same enthusiasm that it enjoyed in the 1900s. Number 13, pineapple glazed ham. Glazed hams adorned with rings of canned pineapple and cherries were a crowning glory on many mid-20th century holiday tables. You typically see these beauties at Christmas or New Year's feasts, each slice punctuated by the sweet tangy flavor of caramelized pineapple. Now, technically, the sugar in the glaze plus the juice from the canned pineapples combined to form a golden crust during baking. This extended cooking process locked in juices and resulted in a succulent, sweet, savory centerpiece. Historically, pineapple was something of a status symbol. Imported fruit once signified luxury. And by pairing it with ham, families brought a flair of tropical indulgence to cold winter celebrations. This dish's downfall came with the shift toward less sugary, more health-oriented entrees, not to mention the rise of new flavor profiles like honey sriracha or bourbon barbecue glazes. Modern palates might still appreciate a hint of sweetness, but the iconic pineapple ring secured with a toothpick, that's rarely seen on New Year's menus nowadays. It's more likely to be found in nostalgic recipe books than on your neighbor's buffet. Number 12, Oysters Rockefeller. Oysters Rockefeller made a splash in the early 20th century America, especially among the upper-middle-class crowd at fancy New Year's soirees. Originally created at Antoine's restaurant in New Orleans, this dish comprises oysters on the half-shell topped with butter, parsley, green herbs, breadcrumbs, and a few secret ingredients. Baked or broiled until golden, Oysters Rockefeller earned its name because it was considered rich enough for Rockefeller. The concept of a briny oyster, balanced by a smooth, decadent sauce, made it a culinary icon. From a technical perspective, the high heat helps meld the flavored butter mixture with the oyster's natural liquor, forging an intense flavor that many found irresistible. Serving them required skill. The shells had to be stable on rock salt, and timing was everything. Over time, simpler seafood appetizers rose to prominence. Think shrimp cocktails or crab dips that required less delicate handling. Plus, raw bars became more widespread, overshadowing cooked shellfish preparations. Though still served in upscale restaurants, Oysters Rockefeller lost its universal luster as the decades passed, making it more of a specialty item than a go-to New Year's treat. Number 11. Shrimp cocktail in a glass. Shrimp cocktail in a tall glass was a hallmark of high-end celebrations in the mid-1900s, including glitzy New Year's Eve parties. Typically, it was large shrimp draped around the rim of a glass, accompanied with a tangy cocktail sauce, often a base of ketchup, horseradish, Worcestershire sauce, lemon juice, and hot sauce. Presentation was everything. The vivid pink of the shrimp contrasted dramatically with the red sauce in a clear vessel. It looked elegant, almost like a savory sundae. From a technical standpoint, cooking shrimp to just the right temperature ensured a plump, firm bite that wasn't rubbery. The sauce's heat came from a combination of that bite from horseradish and hot sauce. Though shrimp cocktail can still be found, the tradition of individual shrimp cocktails served in fancy stemware lost its popularity as buffets and communal seafood platters became more common. People still love shrimp, but they're more likely to enjoy it in casual, versatile forms. Think grilled skewers or tacos, rather than the formal, old-school shrimp cocktail glass that once signaled sophistication. Number 10. Sardine Rolls. Now, another quirky contender that once graced New Year's tables was sardine rolls. Essentially, you'd mash sardines with cream cheese or mayonnaise, sometimes just adding lemon juice or dill, and then spread that mixture onto bread before rolling it up. These pinwheel-style bites were sliced into rounds and secured with toothpicks. Sardines, rich in omega-3 fatty acids and protein, were considered quite the healthy choice, albeit with a distinct flavor profile that certainly wasn't for everyone. For the uninitiated, sardines are small, oily fish that came canned in water, oil, or tomato sauce. Even a light marinade can dramatically alter the taste. Technically, their robust flavor pairs well with acidic or creamy elements, which is why the spread typically included lemon or mayonnaise. Sardine rolls started to decline as other fish-based canopies, like smoked salmon or tuna salad pinwheels, started to gain favor. Over the decades, sardines fell out of fashion in American households, seen either as too fishy or old-fashioned. While the nutritional benefits do remain, the novelty of sardine rolls, it seldom appears in present-day celebrations. Number 9. Vienna Sausage Crescent Rolls. A quick, crowd-pleasing dish, Vienna Sausage Crescent Rolls were mini bite-sized wonders served at many mid-century parties. Hosts would wrap small sausages, often sold in cans, in pre-made crescent dough, then bake until golden. The result was a flaky exterior surrounding a salty, savory filling. It was akin to pigs in a blanket, but on an even smaller scale. The convenience of canned Vienna sausages made these easy to store and prepare, crucial for a hostess juggling multiple party dishes. On a technical note, pre-made dough relies on hydrogenated fats or vegetable oils to maintain a tender texture. Vienna sausages, often composed of a mix of meats like beef and pork, carried a distinct processed taste that some found nostalgic. Others, off-putting. But over time, more natural sausage products and homemade dough recipes supplanted the reliance on canned meat and tube dough. Plus, Americans became more conscious of sodium and preservatives. Consequently, these miniature crescent roll-ups drifted into the background, replaced by artisan mini hot dogs or healthier snack alternatives at contemporary New Year's gatherings. Number 8. Olive and cream cheese pinwheels. These rolled wonders combine briny olives and tangy cream cheese for a savory bite. A typical recipe involves spreading a cream cheese mixture, often seasoned with garlic powder or onion flakes, onto soft bread or tortillas. Then, layering sliced olives before rolling and slicing into rounds. The visual contrast of bright green or black olives against the white filling made them a colorful addition to the party platter. A batch of pinwheels offered a quick, no-cook appetizer that was perfect for last-minute gatherings. Texturally, the cream cheese acts as a glue that holds everything together, and the bread or tortilla needs enough pliability to be rolled without cracking. The saltiness of olives appealed to guests looking for a savory fix amid the sugary confections of the holiday season. As more global flavors like hummus wraps and fusion sushi rolls became the norm, olive and cream cheese pinwheels started to feel simplistic or passé. While still beloved in certain circles, particularly among older generations, they faded from the typical New Year's spread, outshined by more contemporary rolled appetizers. Number 7. Jello fruit salads. Jello fruit salads were the sweet sister to the savory Aspic phenomenon. Instead of embedding vegetables or meats, you'd find canned pineapple, mandarin oranges, chopped apples, or even fruit cocktail suspended in a brightly colored gelatin. Often topped with whipped cream or Cool Whip, these jiggly confections made frequent appearances at potlucks, church socials, and holiday parties throughout the 1900s. The vibrant hues, lime green, strawberry red, and orange, added a festive flair to any buffet. From a technical standpoint, fruit juices and the natural acidity can affect the set of gelatin. Certain fresh fruits, like pineapple, contained enzymes that can prevent gelling if not cooked or canned first. Hence, it was crucial to use the right fruit forms to ensure that the salad would properly solidify. Over time, changing tastes and concerns about artificial flavors, colors, and high sugar content led to a decline in Jello fruit salads. Nowadays, you might still spot them in a nostalgic family gathering, but they seldom anchor the New Year's dessert table as they once did. Number 6. Swedish Meatballs. Swedish Meatballs experienced a popularity surge in mid-century American kitchens, frequently showing up at holiday events. Usually made from a blend of ground beef and pork, Swedish Meatballs incorporate breadcrumbs soaked in milk, onion, and warm spices like allspice or nutmeg. They're often cooked in a skillet before being transferred to a creamy gravy sauce that's thickened with beef stock and sometimes sour cream. Served on toothpicks, these bite-sized delights function as an easy self-serve appetizer. The technical reason behind their softness lies in the milk-soaked breadcrumbs, which increase moisture and tenderness. That hint of sweetness from the gravy or accompanying lingonberry jam balance the savory meat perfectly. Over time, while they remain a classic in some circles, the labor-intensive process, cooking multiple small meatballs and making the sauce, pushed them out of favor at large parties. Ready-made frozen meatballs and more exotic finger food started to overshadow them, although they're still a fan favorite at certain chain furniture stores. In the realm of retro New Year's Eve party menus, Swedish Meatballs, they no longer command the star position they once did. Number 5. Pigs in a blanket. Pigs in a blanket are straightforward. Mini sausages or hot dogs wrapped in dough and then baked until golden. They soared into party stardom in the 1950s and 60s, bridging the gap between child-friendly fare and adult indulgence. On top of that, they were perfect for hungry partygoers craving a quick, savory bite. Technically, the strategy mirrors Vienna sausage Crescent rolls, but uses slightly larger frankfurters and often homemade or puff pastry dough instead of the canned variety. Now, their popularity was fueled by convenience and universal appeal. You didn't need advanced culinary skills to pull them off, and they tasted great with ketchup, mustard, or barbecue sauce. However, as with many processed meat-based appetizers, pigs in a blanket fell victim to shifting dietary preferences and the quest for more sophisticated, health-forward hors d'oeuvres. Now, these days, you may still find them at casual tailgate parties, but for New Year's bashes aiming for elegance, they've become more of a guilty pleasure than a marquee attraction. Number 4. Baked Alaska. Baked Alaska wowed guests with its contrasting temperatures. A brick of ice cream set atop sponge cake, all encased in a meringue shell and briefly baked in a scorching oven. The trick? Well, meringue's air pockets act as an insulator, preventing the ice cream from melting before you slice into it. This dramatic dessert was a showstopper in the early to mid-1900s, often reserved for special occasions like New Year's Eve, weddings, or anniversary dinners. From a technical standpoint, sugar in the meringue and the thickness of the foam layers help protect the ice cream from heat. The high oven temperature rapidly browns the meringue while leaving the interior chilled. Despite its theatrical appeal, Baked Alaska requires careful timing, precise temperature control, and a fair bit of skill. Over the years, modern cooking trends leaned towards simpler dishes or single-portion sweets. A few home cooks ventured into meringue artistry. So while Baked Alaska remains an icon among retro recipes, it's seldom the dessert of choice for the average New Year bash today. Number 3. Milk Punch. Milk punch is a historic beverage that thrived in southern states and occasionally made an appearance at lavish New Year's parties in the early 1900s, typically involving whole milk or cream, sugar, a dash of vanilla, and a spirit like brandy or bourbon. It was served chilled or over ice. Some recipes used a clarifying technique where hot milk curdles with citrus juice, resulting in a clear, smooth punch once the curds were strained out. More common, however, was a simpler version that resembled a sweeter, boozier glass of milk. Technically, the lactic fat content in milk or cream provided a velvety mouthfeel that many found comforting amidst the winter chill. The sugar and alcohol helped preserve it, giving hosts a bit of a safety net for longer festivities. Over time, eggnog overshadowed milk punch in popularity during holiday events, and cocktails like the old-fashioned or a whiskey sour became trendier. Nowadays, you can still find milk punch recipes in culinary archives and niche cocktail bars, but it's far from a New Year's mainstay. Number 2. Chicken a la king. Chicken a la king was a fixture in mid-20th century chafing dishes at dinner parties and buffet-style events, sometimes even around the New Year's table. Typically made of diced chicken, mushrooms, and green peppers in a rich cream sauce, it was served over toast points, puff pastry shells, or rice. The creamy gravy often included sherry for a subtle touch of sophistication, while the vegetables contributed color and a hint of freshness. From a technical standpoint, thickening the sauce with a roux, equal parts fat and flour, gave it that silky mouthfeel. The dish offered convenience. Hosts could prepare large batches, keep them warm, and let guests serve themselves. Yet, as people veered away from heavy cream sauces and sought more global-inspired dishes, chicken a la king fell out of culinary favor. More vibrant, lighter entrees or bite-sized finger foods took over New Year's menus. While you still might stumble upon a vintage cookbook praising chicken a la king as the ultimate crowd pleaser, it rarely graces a contemporary holiday spread. And number 1, Waldorf Salad. Invented at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York in the late 1800s, the Waldorf salad gained widespread popularity through the early and mid-1900s. Classically composed of chopped apples, celery, walnuts, and mayonnaise, it combined crunch with creaminess and a hint of natural sweetness. Raisins or grapes were later additions for extra flavor. Now, the salad was once a staple at fancy gatherings, often appearing at end-of-year celebrations where hosts wanted to project a sense of elegance. Technically, the mayonnaise base brings the disparate textures together, while the crispiness of the celery and apples cuts through the richness. The balance between sweetness, nuttiness, and tang was considered cutting edge during its heyday. Over time, lighter vinaigrettes and more colorful salad mixes became the trend, relegating Waldorf salad to the dusty pages of older recipe collections. It also didn't help that folks began associating mayonnaise-heavy dishes with outdated, calorie-dense fare. Now, while it remains a classic in certain circles, the Waldorf salad is undoubtedly calorie-dense fare, less common on modern New Year's menus. It's overshadowed now by the expansive world of new salad options. Well, we hope you found this video helpful as we travel down memory lane, revisiting these 20 New Year's party foods that have largely faded into history. Hey, look, jokes aside, it's always enlightening to see how our food culture has evolved over time, and to cherish those nostalgic bites when they reappear. If you enjoyed this journey, consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into retro favorites, culinary curiosities, and classic techniques. Thanks for watching, and here's to a new year filled with fresh experiences and a healthy dash of old-fashioned charm. Cheers, and here's to a very happy new year ahead.